Our opening words this morning are adapted from the Onondaga Nation, just near Syracuse. These words are spoken before and after all ceremonial and governmental gatherings.
The belief is that the world must not be taken for granted, and that communicating thankfulness aligns the minds and hearts of the people with nature. This forms a guiding principle of all culture.
We offer these words, acknowledging the complicated and difficult history of the Thanksgiving holiday and the ongoing struggle of Indigenous peoples for sovereignty and safety.
Greeting and thanks to each other as people, to the earth, mother of all, to the waters, waterfalls, and rain rivers and ocean, to all the fish life, greetings and thanks, the grains and the greens, beans and berries, as one we send thanks.
To food plants and medicine herbs of the world and their keepers, greetings and thanks. To all animals and their teachings, to the trees for shelter and shade, fruit and beauty, to all birds, large and small, joyful greetings and thanks.
And from the four directions, the four winds, thank you for purifying the air we breathe and giving us strength. Greetings to the thunderers, our grandfathers in the sky. We hear your voices.
And now the sun, for the light of a new day and all the fires of life. To our oldest grandmother, the moon, leader of women all over the world.
And the stars, for their mystery and beauty and guidance. Greetings and thanks.
To our teachers from all times, reminding us of how to live in harmony. And for all the gifts of creation, for all the love around us, greetings and thanks.
And for that which is forgotten, we remember. Now our minds are one.
Good morning and welcome to worship. The Sunday after Thanksgiving is a time that many ministers take away from their congregations so that they too can visit with their family and rest. Our worship today is brought to you by our clergy cluster that we affectionately named the Wicked Awesome Clergy Clatch. This service features ministers from congregations in Syracuse, Utica, Oneonta, Ithaca, Binghamton, Watertown, Cortland, Big Flats, and Athens, Pennsylvania. All of your ministers and music directors have worked to lovingly contribute recordings for this worship service. The videos were all kindly compiled by Reverend Jennifer Hamlin-Navius in Syracuse, New York. We love collaborating with one another, and we hope that what you find here today helps you along your spiritual journey.
We light this chalice in celebration of the gift of life. May its light be a beacon of hope, a sign of our quest for truth and meaning. Infinite love, be here with us now.
I'm Reverend Douglas Taylor, serving the Binghamton congregation, and I'm inviting you into our opening hymn. We're going to sing a song from the Teal Hymnal Supplement. If you have it, it's number 1010, We Give Thanks. If you don't have it, that's not a big deal, because this is a call and response song. I'll sing the line and you all respond to the line. I'm lucky enough to have a couple of background singers with me here to be able to help me through this. So you just join in as you're ready for it. Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
for this precious day.
For this precious day.
For all gathered here.
All gathered here.
And those far away.
And those far away.
For this time we share.
For this time we share.
With love and care.
With love and care.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
for this precious day.
For this precious day.
Oh, we give thanks.
Oh, we give thanks
for this precious day.
For this precious day.
For all gathered here.
Our story today is The Table Where Rich People Sit by Bird Baylor. If you could see us sitting here at our old, scratched up, homemade kitchen table, you'd know that we are not rich. But my father keeps trying to tell us that we are. Doesn't he notice my worn out shoes? Or that my little brother has patches on the pants he wears to first grade? And why does he think that old rattletrap truck is parked by our door? You can't fool me, I say. We're poor. Would rich people sit at a table like this? My mother sort of pats the table and says, well, we're rich and we sit here every day. Sometimes I think I am the only person in the whole family who is sensible. Maybe I should mention that my parents made this table out of lumber someone else threw away. They even had a celebration when they finished it. Understand, I like this table fine. All I'm saying is you can tell it didn't come from a furniture store. It doesn't look like a table where rich people sit to me. But my mother thinks that if all the rulers of the world could get together at a friendly wooden table in somebody's kitchen, they would solve their arguments in half the time. And my father says it wouldn't hurt to have a lot of cookies piled up on a nice blue plate that everyone could reach without asking. But tonight, it's our kitchen and our argument and our family meeting and our very spicy ginger cookies piled up on my mother's one good blue flowered plate exactly in the center of the table. I am the one who has called this meeting, and the subject is money. And I say we don't have enough of it. I tell my parents they should both get better jobs so we could buy a lot of nice new things. I tell them I look worse than anybody at school. I hate to bring this up, I say, but it would help if you both had a little more ambition. They look surprised. You can see they never think about the things we need. Right here, I may as well admit that my parents have some strange ideas about working. They think that the only jobs worth having are jobs outdoors. They want cliffs or canyons or deserts or mountains around them whenever they work. And they want a nice, good view of the sky. They always work together, and their favorite thing is panning for gold, piling us into that beat-up truck and heading for the rocky desert hills or back into some narrow mountain gully where all the roads are just coyote trails. They love to walk the wild arroyos, the dry stream beds where little flecks of gold are found. They used to tell us that the truck just knew which roads to take and that coyotes showed them where to look for gold. I never did believe it. After a month or two out there, they always had a little bit of gold to sell, but you can tell it never made them rich. As far as I can see, it was just an excuse to camp in some beautiful and wild place again. They don't mind planting fields of sweet corn or alfalfa. They like to pick chili and squash and tomatoes. They'll put up strong fences or train wild young horses. But they say they can't stand to be cooped up indoors. So now, of course, my dad is asking, how many people are as lucky as we are? But I have called this meeting, and I say, I bet you could make more money working in a building somewhere in town. Remember our number one rule, he says, we have to see the sky. You could look through a window, I say, but they won't even think about it. Do you see what I mean about being the sensible one? Finally, my mother says, all right, mountain girl, we're going to explain how we figure our money, and you be the bookkeeper tonight. She hands us each a pencil and some yellow paper. She gives some to my little brother too,
though he'll just sit there pretending to write and when we write, or he'll draw people dancing up in the sky. And by the way, my name's not really Mountain Girl. They call me that was because I was born in a cabin on the side of a mountain where they were looking for gold one summertime in Arizona. They say it was the most magical place, the most beautiful mountain they ever climbed. Maybe it was, but you know how those two exaggerate. Anyway, they wanted my first sight to be that mountainside. So they held me up outdoors at sunrise when I was just about 8 minutes old. The truth is, I still like sunrise quite a lot. But my little brother, they call him Ocean Boy. They say since I already had the best mountain for my first sight, they thought they ought to find the most beautiful ocean for him. I think they went all over Mexico looking for places where the ocean touches the jungle, and they had to find a certain kind of purple blue night sky and the exact green waves they like. They held him up to see those waves for his first sight. Someday, we're all going back to his green ocean and my high mountain. But for now, even though they claim to be so rich, they can't take us anywhere at all. No wonder I had to call this meeting about money. Can you believe my father is sitting there looking me straight in the eye and saying, "But Mountain Girl, I thought you knew how rich we are." I say, we can't get very far in this discussion if you won't even admit that we are poor. "I'll prove it to you right now," he says. "Let's make a list of all the money we earn in a year." "How much is that?" I ask. "I'll write it down." But he says, "Not so fast. We have a lot of things to think about before we add them up." "What kind of things?" My mother says, "We don't just take our pay in cash, you know. We have a special plan, so we get paid in sunsets too, and in having time to hike around the canyons and to look for eagles' nests." But I say, "Can't you give me a single number to write down on this paper?" So we start with $20,000. That's how much my father says it's worth to him to work outdoors, where he can see the sky all day and feel the wind and smell the rain an hour before it's really raining. He says it's worth that much to be where, if he feels like singing, he can sing out loud and no one will mind. I have just written 20,000 when my mother says, "You better make that 30,000 because it's worth at least another 10 to hear coyotes howling back on the hills." So I write 30,000. Then she remembers that they like to see long distances and faraway mountains that change color about 10 times a day. "That's worth another $5,000 to me," she says. I'm not surprised because my mother claims to be an expert on mountain shadows in the desert. She says she can tell time by the way those colors change from dawn to dark. I scratch out what I had and write $35,000. My father thinks of something else. "When a cactus blooms, you should be there to watch it, because it might be a color you won't see again any other day in your life. How much would you say that color is worth?" 50 cents, my brother asks. But they decide another 5,000. So now I write $40,000. But I'd forgotten how much my father likes to make bird sounds. He can copy any bird, but he's the best at white-winged doves and ravens and red-tailed hawks and quail. He's good at eagles too, and great-horned owls. So of course he has to add another $10,000 for having both day birds and night birds around us. I cross out what I write and write $50,000. Now my mother says, "Let's see what our mountain girl is worth to us." I'm beginning to catch on to their kind of thinking. So I suggest that I'm worth $10,000, even though my little brother has begun to laugh. Don't underestimate yourself, my father says. Remember all those good lists you make for us. He's right, I do. I make a list of the best books each one of us has read, and a list of all the ones we want to read again. I also make a list of all the animals each one of us has seen, and the ones we still most want to see in the wild and not in a zoo. Mine is a mountain lion. I've dreamed of him 4 times, and I've already seen his track. My father chose the grizzly bear. My mother wants to see a wolf and hear it call. And my brother can't decide between a dolphin and a whale. I remember everyone because I make the lists. They end up deciding I'm worth about $1 million. I say I don't think I am, but I write it anyway. In fact, it turns out every one of us is worth $1 million. So we have $4,050,000. Then I realize I want to add $5,000 myself for the pleasure that I have wandering in the open country alone, free as a lizard, not following trails, not having a plan, just turning whatever the way the winds turn me. They say that is certainly worth $5,000. So that makes $4,055,000. Finally, my brother wants to put down $7 more for all the nights we get to sleep outside under the stars. We all say $7 doesn't seem to be enough. We talk him into making it $5,000. Now, my paper says $4,060,000. And we haven't started counting actual cash. To tell you the truth, the cash part doesn't seem to matter very much anymore. I suggest it shouldn't even be on a list of our kind of riches. So the meeting is over. The rest of them have gone outside to see the new sliver of the moon. But I'm still sitting in here at our nice homemade kitchen table with one cookie left on my mother's good blue flowered plate. And I'm writing this book about us. I kind of pat the table, and I'm glad it's ours. In fact, I think the title of my book is going to be The Table Where Rich People Sit.
It is my joy to welcome you into the offering. I begin with these words by Kayla Parker. We know that our financial contributions to our congregations come from sacrifice and hard work. We are so grateful for this and commit together to ensure the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for ourselves and our world than they could have done alone. May there be an offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of these congregations. May we give in love and in hope. At this time, I invite you to hear the offertory music, a piece by the Binghamton Choir. While that is happening, you are encouraged to each make a donation to one of our sponsoring congregations. There will be information available about how to do that. It is a blessing to be together.
From far and near.
I want to invite you to join me in a prayer this morning. It comes from the Benedictine nuns of Cuernavaca, Mexico. It is an embodied prayer, which means that we will be moving our bodies during the prayer. If you are comfortable, I invite you to stand, or you may stay seated, whichever is most comfortable for you. Placing our feet on the earth, feel its energy, breathing, slowing, relaxing our bodies, and opening to the Spirit of life, the Spirit of God. Bringing our hands to the prayer position, thumbs touching the heart, we remember our connection to the heart of God and all that is. Bringing our hands down, palms up, in a gesture symbolic of gratitude, we gratefully receive the gifts of this day. Grateful for the gifts we recognize and those we do not. Grateful for those who are within our circles. We open ourselves to receive the gifts of this week's journey. Touching our palms back to back, fingers pointing to the sky, in a gesture symbolic of memory. We remember our past and all that brought us here. Grateful for all of what has made us who we are. We give thanks for our individual and collective past. Turning our hands back still together, fingers moving in towards the heart, in a gesture recognizing our authentic selves. We feel our emotions, feeling where we are right now and what is happening inside. Who we are without masks. We give thanks for our authentic selves and all the feelings we carry into this moment and into this week. Extending our arms out, palms down, we reach for the good, the sacred, in a gesture symbolic of reaching for God and good, our yearning to connect, to love and be loved. Bringing our hands up to the sky, we give thanks for the air that we share, rich and poor, all of creation. We acknowledge that we pollute the air and we ask for forgiveness. We acknowledge the mystery of the skies, the universe, and we give thanks. Bringing our hands down towards the earth, palms down. We express thanks for her. We acknowledge that we often do not recognize that we are walking upon her. And we acknowledge that we pollute and harm the earth, and we ask for forgiveness. We bring our hands in prayer position to the third eye. We ask for vision, for clarity, and for new ways to live and love. Bringing the hands back to the heart, touching our God center. We feel how we've always connected to God and the Spirit of life. We give thanks for that connection to ourselves and to each other. Blessed be. I invite you now to join with me in quiet reflection for 7 breaths.
Our reading this morning is The Deep Well of Appreciation by Marta Valentin. To rise each morning with the faint glow of starlight on our backs as we head into the joys, the surprises, the challenges of each day, sometimes with awe and wonder, perhaps expectation, perhaps dread. To rise each day, peering over waterlines, sandbags, walls, garbage, bunkers, in windswept deserts and streets lined with sweet-smelling olive trees alike. What a gift we are given when we can rise in freedom of some sort, to some degree. This year, for once, for one honest moment, let us forgive our ancestors for the real and true roots from which the Thanksgiving ritual emerged. Let us acknowledge the less than honorable circumstances that created the original table of abundance that North Americans attempt to recreate each year. Let us acknowledge and forgive each other and ourselves for perpetuating inaccurate history. For how can we be truly grateful if we do not? We rise with you, Spirit of truth and justice, to stroll through all the many gardens of gratitude, inhaling the crystal clear air of freedoms attained through rough and tumble avenues of debate and destruction. This year, in solidarity, let the hands across North America reach toward each other's hearts to feel the pulse that has longed for centuries to beat as one, whole, spirit-filled, and graceful, swimming in the river of thankfulness for the clarity such intentions provide. This year, let us give not until it hurts, but until we can look in the mirror and know we are reaching profoundly into the wells of gratitude. Know that we are sitting in the pure joy of it, tearfully acknowledging the gift to rise each day and make bread or beds, give smiles, elicit laughter, cross the line that is personal space to meet in the circle that is a hug. Spirit of compassion, you know that if we were never to give thanks, these gifts would still abound. You know, we would rise and walk in the dark of emptiness, missing completely the air of humanity, the beingness that is grounded in the awareness, the age-old knowledge that we are all one, and together create the one. This year, let us commit to always arise above wherever it is we find ourselves. Let us give thanks for the interdependent web that brought food to our tables, for the spirits that gave of themselves so that we might eat, for the bended backs that labored in the hot sun, and all the carriers that reached their destinations. In this rich well of appreciation, let us stretch our hands across the table of abundance, pressing lifeline against lifeline, giving thanks that we can do so, and gently holding in our hearts those who cannot and could not from the beginning. Spirit of our deepest desires, this year, let us commit to truly rising as one Unitarian Universalist voice working for and loving all of humanity. Que así sea, so may it be. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe. Ho. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Namaste. Pause.
In her book, Packing for Mars, author Mary Roach writes about her research of the lives of astronauts and their travel in space. She writes that the first space shuttles didn't have tables for astronauts to sit at, because without gravity, one can't sit down, and the food that was placed on them would float around instead. It would be a mess. So the engineers took them out. But it turned out that the astronauts didn't like that. After some time passed, they started asking NASA to build tables into the space shuttles so that they could have their meals together. Bring back the table, the astronauts said. Put some straps on it. We want to sit around the table at the end of the day and eat like humans. Our yearning for community, particularly when we eat, can defy gravity. We need to find a way to meet this basic need and to enjoy it. We want to eat together, sitting at a table. It helps us to feel connected. A few years ago, there was this campaign launched in Canada to encourage people to eat meals together. Out of that campaign came one of my favorite commercials, which we just watched together. It reminds me of the Stone Soup story. Just as the villagers in the story of Stone Soup found that they had more when they were together than they did alone, these folks shared a wonderful meal together, and in their hallway of all places. I miss that. I bet you miss it too. Not eating in the hallway with my neighbors, I've never actually done that, but I miss the ability to sit at a table with another person, to eat and to laugh without worrying about aerosol sprays of germs and disease. I miss the energy of people sitting together, that energy surging all around us, through us all. I miss it. There's something about eating together that brings out a different side to our relationships. It helps us to feel more deeply connected to ourselves, to each other, and to that which is larger than us all. We share this common need for food, for shelter, for water, for community. And we share the desire to belong and to feel included. We share this connection to all that ever was, all that ever will be. And in that connection, we are reminded of our intertwined togetherness, of our interconnectedness. It's in that connection to each other, to our histories, to the divine, that gives us strength and help when we most need it, when we need that reminder that we are part of something bigger. There's a fullness that comes from being sustained in community with others and with something larger than ourselves. And there's this deep well of appreciation that nourishes us from within. So I wonder, how is your deep well fed? Is it fed by some sense of connection with people or other beings who have gone before you or who are alive and with you now? Is it fed by the ability to join your efforts with the efforts of others to be the good in the world, to be a source of light and of goodness and of hope in times when hope is not in abundance? Is it fed by a sense of abundant love that surges through each of us, the earth, the community? Is your deep well of appreciation fed by a familiar face and a smile at the end of the day that says you belong here? Sit, stay a while. However your well is fed, from wherever your help comes, I hope it is abundant. I hope you have more than you need. It has been said that when we have more than we need, we should build a longer table instead of a higher fence. This is to say that rather than hoard our abundance and keep it for ourselves, we should share it with others. This concept also speaks to our capacity of the human heart to expand and widen and deepen when we're in community with others. So how do we do that? How do we build a longer table in our lives in these times we're living in? What does that look like? It might look like having a Zoom lunch date with a friend, It might look like sending our favorite recipes to our loved ones, cooking them all on the same day, sharing a meal over FaceTime or Zoom. It might even look like actually putting down our phone and our electronics when we're running errands, or simply putting our phones away at dinner time with our family. Or maybe right now it looks like donating food to the pantry for those who need it, or money, or our time, or writing cards of joy and of laughter and of sharing funny stories to our family and our friends. It might look like showing up in new ways that we hadn't considered before. And perhaps by doing these things, we might catch a glimpse of the abundant love that radiates in the universe. We might refill our deep well of appreciation. We might connect more deeply with all that was and is and ever will be. However you choose to lengthen your table, let it be in the spirit of abundance. However you seek to connect with others, let it be with hope and appreciation in your heart. However you pause with gratitude and thanks for the wind and the water, the sun and the moon, may you do so with a sense of deep connection to it all, that energy surges through you and through me and through all of us. As we strive to nourish ourselves and each other, let us remember the power in a kind word or a smile and in breaking bread together, even if we have to get a little creative this year. Let us practice sharing sustenance together as fellow human beings, connected to the earth and all that is. So may it be. Amen, and blessed be.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed, every kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell a story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please join with me in the spirit of prayer or meditation. Spirit of life, God and goddesses of all names, help us during this time of distancing to reach out with our hearts to find what is good and to follow it. Remind us each day to intentionally connect with another person, to remind them of goodness and love in this world. This season, may we be guided by our Unitarian Universalist principles to always side with love, especially when it is hard. Blessed be. Shalom and amen.